Hello again. It is the work area here on Wing Nation as we just gather in the work area and talk sprint car racing. We are so glad that you have joined us. Steve Post here in our Concord studios from the Mooresville location, Erin Evernham, and from Pennsylvania, we have got Ashley Stremme. So, Ashley, how are you? How are things?
I'm great. We are less than a week away from baby Stremme being here, so stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Well, as long as we get through the next 20 or 30 minutes, Erin and I are perfectly happy then. We're really good. So,
And then we can have vodka lemmies.
there you go. Absolutely. The vodka
Finally.
lemmies.
Whew, I've
Finally.
been drinking double.
That a girl. That's our girl, Erin, taking one for the team. Erin, how are things in your world? Everything good over there?
Things are good. Yeah, very good. Thank you.
That is cool. That is cool. All is well here too. We're just kind of rocking and rolling along, getting right into the racing season. I want to do this, then we'll take a little break and we'll get into some sprint car topics, but I want to kind of keep reintroducing what we're doing here on Thursday. This is the work area. This is where we get together to talk sprint car racing and to kind of just come up to date what's going on, what we're thinking about, we're seeing, and everything else. We also have 3 other podcasts, Getting Off Track with Ashley Stremme. And Ashley, you sat down a week or so ago with Mandy Pittman. What a great visit you had with Mandy. That was some good stuff.
It really is. It's so awesome to finally get to talk to these women outside of just having casual conversation with them and letting the world hear, what they do and what they've been through, through their husband's career or through their son's career. And I really love where this Thursday show's going, and I love the outpouring that I've gotten from our fans and their fans and how much they're enjoying it. So it's really been a whole lot of fun.
Has been a lot of fun, that's for sure. Erin, you are going with the as you know, because we have drivers and engineers and crew chiefs say that all the time. You were with Bernie Stubjen last week. Another great show. You having fun with that? Is that working out good for you?
Yeah, both episodes we've done so far have been a blast. Last week, interviewing Bernie was really fun for me because I've heard his name forever. You see his cars be so successful, but I didn't really know him. So to get the chance to sit down and chat with him and kind of get the whole story. I mean, he's a man of many hats, promoter, business owner, team owner, crew chief, doing all sorts of things, but just to get a little bit more in depth. And I got to talk to him about the tire shortage. I got to talk to him about, just being a crew chief and what his passions are. So I've really enjoyed it. It's that chance to kind of go a little bit more in depth on the engineering side when you kind of roll your eyes at me during a regular show.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. I'm rolling my eyes right now, as a matter of fact. So,
well,
yes.
You want to talk fitness and whatnot, and I want to talk engineering.
That in itself, 5 years ago, 3 years ago, wouldn't have made any sense either. So,
no, you used to just want to talk about food. So
food
you have.
now it's food and fitness. Exactly. Yeah, one balances out the other. The post office is the one that I'm doing on a monthly basis, and Calvin Knapp, one of our favorites. When we launched Wing Nation years and years ago, back in 2011, we talked about who is Wing Nation. And granted, the focus is mostly on drivers, but we do get into some crew chiefs. With this show, we get into some wives. But one of the things I wanted to make sure we do is include fans, because fans are such a big part of Wing Nation, and who better than Calvin Knapp? And it was great hanging out with him and chatting with him. So you can find all of those podcasts, Getting Off Track with Ashley Stremme, as you know, with Erin Evernham, and The Post Office with Steve Post. You can find those on our YouTube page. Is probably the best spot to send you to find all of those visits, as well as the work area. And this is our second one of these shows. So we're going to step away. When we get back, we're going to talk sprint car racing, because as we say, that makes it our favorite time of the week. Welcome back to the work area here on Wing Nation. So glad you have joined us as we're hanging out and talking sprint car racing. Erin Evernham, Ashley Stremme, and yours truly, Steve Post. And World of Outlaw and NOS Energy Drink Sprint Cars have certainly been the headliner thus far this season, and they have got things kicked off. And California, the return. Erin, I'll start with you. It's been a couple years since we had a California run, and actually, in complete honesty, this spring run in California has been just rain-filled historically. It was really good to see the World of Outlaws get 5 of their 6 shows in California in over this month of March.
It really was. I feel like the last few years we've talked so much about how the California sprint car scene is growing and it's more competitive, and then not having the Outlaws there didn't really give us a measure of how well they're really doing. So it was neat to see so many shows and not that many rainouts. And of course, we didn't have too many California winners, but it was great racing.
Well, that's interesting because you're right. We did not have too many California winners as far as the local contingent of California.
Yes.
But 4 of the 5 races were won by California natives, but yet only one of them, Carson Macedo, is the only full-time World of Outlaw. In fact, Gio Scelzi said, no, I'm California. So it was with Gio getting 2 wins, Kyle Larson won 1, Carson Macedo, and then David Gravel, representing that sprint car hotbed of Connecticut, picked up the win. So, Ashley, it is kind of weird. I think it shows the talent of California. Yeah, much of it has left California, but the California drivers still did well out there.
Absolutely. I think California racetracks are their own animal. I mean, you hear guys talk about it all the time. It's get up on the wheel, pony up, hold on, and, little bull rings and just ripping the top and, like I said, cowboy up. That's really all you can say about the California tracks, So those guys that cut their teeth there don't know it any better. It's like our Pennsylvania guys here, still we get beat by the World of Outlaws from time to time, yes. But nobody knows their racetracks better than their home tracks, right?
Yeah, and Erin, you're the one in this group that has raced the big fast half miles and raced the California bull rings. It is a total different skill set that they have out there.
It really is. When you compare going to Pennsylvania, like you go to the Grove, you go to Port Royal, those guys, those are such unique racetracks, and the guys who run there weekly, they do have an advantage. And I don't think I even ever made an A main at Williams Grove, to be honest. It's just so competitive. And then, like you're right, you go to California, and I remember running Chico, and obviously I had success at Tulare, but they're bull rings. They are, especially back then. That was a long time ago. Now I'm not so young, and they were elbows up. They were heavy tracks, and you had to work those 30, 40 laps.
Listen to her, Ashley, talking about how old she is. I know, it's crazy, ain't it?
So old.
Yeah.
So old.
Yeah.
18 years ago, I won at Tulare. That is old.
How many years ago?
18. It was 2004. I'm old.
Wow. I still have
No,
socks.
you were just really young when you won it.
I feel like it was just a few years ago, but turns out it wasn't.
Wow. Well, 18 years ago for sure.
I always say that to some of the young kids. I'm like, oh, you're racing and you weren't even born. You weren't even born yet.
Wow.
Awesome.
Remember me?
Corey Day.
Yeah. You can. Well, speaking of
Yeah,
which, how about that? And Ashley, you and I had a chance. We caught up with Corey Day. He'll be our guest on our television program this weekend. Boy, there's a young man that's destined for some big things. And Ashley, he's surrounded himself by some really good people.
It's true. You'll have to definitely check out his interview. It was incredible. He's very humble and he's got his ways set. And I think it's because of the people he has surrounded himself with. You take a guy like Jason Myers. Jason has set himself up for success all through his career. He surrounded himself with the right people and really knew how to work different avenues, from sponsors to how he handled himself to, just media kind of things. And he's getting that training to Corey and giving him that, knowledge. And so I think Corey is going to be wise beyond his years at what? I'm 18. 16?
Yeah.
18. Yeah. So going to be absolutely incredible to see how he flourishes. And when Jason says that this kid just has a natural talent, no matter what he gets behind the wheel of, that says a lot.
Erin, there's something to be said about the mentorship of Jason Myers. I think that is cool. And I love this when we talk about Sheldon. I love this when we talk about Craig Kinzer. I just love that he is a generational racer as well. His dad, Ronnie Day, one of the best ever in California. I just think that this is such a neat connection back to a guy that we don't necessarily talk about all that much. Ronnie Day is not one that doesn't come up on the Mount Rushmore. When you start digging into his stats, though, Corey's dad was a pretty good wheelman back in the day as well.
Yeah, he certainly was. And like you said, he has the genetics. It's through his family. But then you put someone like Jason Myers as a mentor and to help him. that's the perfect recipe for success. You know, Jason, I got the chance to race with him when I ran the Outlaws and got to know him and his wife Robin quite well. And like Ashley said, very professional. They learned how to, you know, use sponsorship and they were so put together. You know, back when I raced the World of Outlaws, being that old, it was a little bit of a rougher and tougher. There wasn't as many corporate sponsorships involved. You had someone like Steve Kinzer who had Quaker State and won a bunch of championships, but love Steve to death. He's a hero of mine, like my favorite ever, but he's not necessarily clean cut and, you know, well spoken in interviews. So Jason kind of brought the Outlaws to the next level, and I think you've seen it trickle down. All the drivers now are a little bit more polished, and obviously we have a lot more sponsorship involved in our sport, but having someone like Jason on your team is a huge advantage.
The last guy, Ashley, that Jason mentored and tutored is, let me see, that Carson Macedo kid, who likewise is having a pretty good run. Jason's got a pretty good track record here in the mentorship business.
It's true. However, Jason did mention that he took some pointers from some guy named Scott Bloomquist. And when he said that, I think, Steve, both you and I were both taken back by it, because you couldn't find two different ends of the spectrum between those two men. But he said he even learned things from Scott. So it was pretty cool to finally chat with Jason after he's been kind of out of the scene for the last couple of years.
Yeah, Erin, the look on both of our faces when he said, you know, Scott Bloomquist told me this, and I think he was right. And we were talking about him like, what, huh? What? I'm like, this is a punchline. This is not a joke. You know, it's like two horses walk into a bar, yada, 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 wait for the punchline. The punchline here is Scott Bloomquist was talking to Jason Myers. That's like the punch. That's the punchline, and then Jason says, and I learned something from Scott. It's like it's fascinating. It really is. It's cool stuff.
Well, I think, as we all know, as rough and tough as Scott comes across, he's actually super smart and obviously knows a lot about the sport. So I get what he's saying, but when you just said it too, I was like, wait, what?
Yeah. Well, yeah, Bloomquist has created a brand. There's no denying that. He has created a brand for sure in the late model world. Beyond Corey Day, though, Ashley, when we look at it, Dominic Scelzi led some laps, had a couple top 10 finishes. DJ Netto finished 6th at Paris. Shane Golobic had a 10th place finish at Tulare. I think it looks like this young present racers in California, I think they came out of here maybe not happy that they didn't win, but I think they should be proud of their efforts, and I think they've got a little bit more drive when the Outlaws come back in September. I think they'll improve upon those efforts.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, Corey even said it himself in his interview. You know, he learned so much in just those handful of shows the last 2 weekends. You know, the pace of how things are set on and off the racetrack with the World of Outlaws, you know, in the pits, just making sure he's ready. He's like, it stepped my game up as a racer. And I think you'll see that across the board with these, you know, guys that don't run full time with the World of Outlaws. They are in a different pace than maybe what they're used to on a typical Friday or Saturday night. And it does make them a little bit more prepared, even though their finishes aren't where they want them to be. It's only ultimately going to step them up and step up their race game.
And, you know, Erin, I just, one other driver that had a really good California swing. He's not an outlaw. He's a California native, but not necessarily running out there. Rico had 2 top 5 finishes, 4 top 10 finishes. Erin, the visits we've had with Rico over the last few years about off-track life, and then knowing how hard he works and bringing Ricky Warner over, I see Rico racing in the top 5, and it just makes me smile.
Absolutely, me too. I love Rico. I always have, and the partnership with him and Ricky Warner, I think it's gonna be they're gonna be tough to beat. You know, Ricky, we know what he did over the years at Tony Stewart Racing with Donnie. He is super intelligent. I've known him for a long time, and I just think that combination. You know, Rico is a wonderful, obviously an amazing race car driver, a wonderful person. He seems like he's happy in life in general, and then you put Ricky Warner in there, and I think that good things are in his future for sure.
Fun stuff for the California drivers. All right, let's talk a little bit more about a California driver that has moved on and is a 3-time World of Outlaw champion, Brad Sweet, who had a 7-month dry spell from winning races. Ashley, your face right there when I said that, your face kind of seized up a little bit. I mean, now Brad said, you know, we got to the end of last year, we were point racing. So I get that a little bit. But it's not like they're busy trying to qualify for races. He's been up front all along, but finally Tuesday night, Vado, New Mexico, Brad was able to get the win. I am sure the relief factor for the KKR team was through the roof after that.
I mean, he's a 3-time champion. It's not that it wasn't going to happen, but we've seen, a 10-time champion go through a winning dry spell. It just speaks to the volume and the level of talent that the World of Outlaws carry. That, we've had so many different winners already this season. The points, not to talk points, but to talk points, that there's so many guys in the mix right now, and we're only how many races in this season. So I think it just speaks volumes to the talent that we're seeing that are, traveling with the World of Outlaws. And then you throw in a local guy here and there who's competitive that mixes everything else up as well. So not seeing Brad with a win this late in the season, yeah, it's kind of surprising, but it's kind of not.
No, it really isn't. But again, it's not like he's floundering around in B mains trying to sneak into the shows. Erin, in the 10 races this year prior to Vado, he had 8 top 5 finishes in the 10 races. And I think another thing that stands out is that they usually come out of Volusia with a win, which totally changes this conversation. And they didn't, and they were good at Volusia too. They were good down there, running up front all the time. But you can't keep Brad Sweet in the top 5 for too many times before a win doesn't come up. That team, that driver, they're that good, and it's not going to be another 7 months before Brad Sweet wins the next one. I'll guarantee you that.
No, definitely not. And I think that Brad has become so experienced and so good at his craft to win championships that I'm not going to say he's not putting himself in certain risks, because to run top 5, you're obviously all out with the World of Outlaws. However, I think he's gotten to be such a smart driver that he's not pushing it when he has a 3rd place car to try to take it to 2nd or 1st or to possibly have a DNF. I think Brad has just become such a smart racer. He'll take the wins when he can, but he'll also take every single top 5, because that's what's going to win him another championship.
Yeah. With that in that drought, which drought is a weird term. In that drought, he took the point lead in the drought. And again, and I don't want to talk points until after Knoxville, but points are an indication of how your performance has been. And he did get to the point lead at that point. Ashley, another driver that just kind of watching Dirt Vision this year, and he certainly hasn't got maybe the results that I think him or his team manager, Barry Jackson, have wanted. But boy, it seems like Spencer Baston is spending a lot of time at the front of the field, and that's good to see. I think that's going to be a good combination going forward.
I do. I think they've just got to figure out their mesh, how they mesh better, right?
Yeah.
Because they're new. Everything's new. Their terminology, I'm sure, their communication is different, and they just need to get on the same page. But you have Spencer. Look at Jacob Allen. He's been throwing his name in the dash week in and week out, and Craig Kinzer as well. Those 3 guys aren't guys that we've seen necessarily at the top consistently. So to see those 3 guys really throwing their name in the hat in the dash every single week is absolutely incredible. I think it's just finding that level of comfort with your crew chief and your car and making everything mesh.
Making everything mesh, and then the competitive level. Spencer, of course, driving for CJB, but Erin, when you have a guy like Barry Jackson tuning the wrenches on your car, and a rested Barry Jackson too. Barry, remember, has taken the last couple of years and not done the full World of Outlaw tour. And Spencer was Barry's guy. I talked to Barry somewhere at the fall of last year, and he said, this kid is so good. This kid, I've wanted to work with this kid for years, and to finally get it. When you get a crew chief of the caliber of Barry Jackson, Erin, and you get his driver like Spencer Mason, as a race car driver, you got to feel like Superman when you climb aboard that car. And he's driving that car like Superman as well. He's doing a really good job.
He is. I mean, he's, like we've talked about with others, he's got the perfect recipe for success. Barry Jackson is one of the best out there. The equipment is top notch. Spencer can certainly get the job done. It's a matter of time. And like Ashley said, when they finally mesh and they get their ball rolling, if you think about gravel in the 2-car, it took, with him and Cody Jacobs, it took a year. It took a year for them to really get going. And like we keep talking about, the competition level is so stout. He's running so well, but it's really hard to beat that top 5.
That's the thing. When you look at this thing, it's like, Spencer Bayston and Barry Jackson, they can become a top 5 team. Well, who did they displace? That's the problem. It's like, it's easy to say we're a top 5 team. The problem of it is there's 6 or 7 other teams that can say they're top 5 teams too. It's fascinating stuff. It really is. So World of Outlaws are up and running. They're in Oklahoma and Texas and then East and East and East. And it's going to be a great, great season. They are off to a really good start. Central Pennsylvania, Ashley, your neck of the woods. You and I talked about this a little bit on our TV show, but I want to go back and do it. You love the February icebreaker. You love that yes, you do. You are good with the February icebreaker.
Actually, you asked for it to be in January, right?
No,
well,
February's good.
February's good. What I don't know you're all fond of is all of the March racing. And we've seen 13 scheduled races. There's been 5 rainouts. There's been some other ones that maybe could have been rained out. It's been a little yucky up there in your state, Ashley. And you talk about the weather. The weather still hasn't cleared all that much for you guys.
No, it's still cold. It's going to be another rough weekend this weekend. I know that Lincoln has moved their start time up to like 2 or 2:30 to try to get the race in. And that's where I'm just like, why? Why are we doing this? It's too freaking cold. Like, I love racing, but I'm not going to sit in the stands. It's just too freaking cold.
Fair weather fan.
I kind of am. Like, I want to be in my shorts and t-shirt when I go to the races, right? But no, it's a struggle. These racetracks want to get going. The fans have cabin fever. That's why I think the icebreaker's imperative. However, the tire issue, motor part issues, all the drama that the world is going through right now is just making it harder for the racers. So let's be smart. Let's try to extend our equipment by not making it run on a super cold day if we don't have to, or, let's hold our season a little bit longer so that we have the necessities when it really comes time, But so yeah, I'm a fair weather fan. If it's not warm and sunny, I don't want to go to the racetrack.
No, I'm all right.
Yeah, I'm a racer, and I schedule all the races. Have them every weekend. Run sprint cars year round.
Wait. Time out. Okay, Erin. Except for when the World of Outlaws are on the West Coast, where are you at when they're running their features?
I'm sound asleep.
Okay, so you're a racer, except for yes.
When I was a racer, I should have said when. The more races, the better.
Okay.
But now, I still I usually catch, qualifying heat races. The B and the dash are questionable. That's usually when the eyelid's shut, but I catch the highlights.
Well, the good news is they're moving east. Back in Pennsylvania, now there has been 8 races. And Erin, we've had a good variety of winners, 7 different winners. Anthony Macri is the only multi-time winner. He's won twice. He won one at Lincoln and one at Port that was in all the papers. But Freddie Raymer, Lance DeWeese, Justin Peck, Brent Marks, Dylan Norris, and Danny Dietrich. It looks like the depth in Pennsylvania, Erin, looks pretty solid, maybe even a little bit more so than what we've had in the last few years, it appears to me.
I was going to say, in the last few years, to me, the depth has grown. For a while it was Lance and it was Danny Dietrich. Now you're getting Freddie has really stepped up. Anthony Macri, Brent Marks running more in Pennsylvania. There's certainly, I think, more depth. And we just talked to Dylan Norris the other day. I was very impressed with him when we spoke with him. It was actually just yesterday. I love what I'm seeing in Pennsylvania. I was worried about Pennsylvania racing, what was that, about 10 years ago when things were really kind of struggling. The team owners were kind of fading away. So it's really good to see that.
Ashley, and I hadn't really planned on doing this, but Erin kind of led me in a direction. Team owners, okay? And yes, it's not, Bob Weichert and the Apple Chevrolet car, but, we do have some people that are coming in. Scott Gobrecht owns the 44 team that Dylan Norris won. Rich Eichelberger has put a team together for Freddie Raymer. Of course, we've had, for God's sake, what's his name that runs the 27? Mike Hefner. We've had Mike Hefner forever. So it does seem, I think it's still going to be family-based to a large degree. Well, okay, even Danny's deal. Even Danny's deal is I think we're starting to see some team owners with Gary Kaufman. I think we're starting to see a little bit of life with some team owners coming out and maybe getting back involved in sprint car racing.
We sure have, Steve. I know we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. It is great to see that team owners are coming back in, and the family teams will still be there and still be strong, but it's good to see team owners rolling back in. However, we talk about Greg Hodnett. I don't think, with the exception of Lance, all our drivers are pretty young. Macri, Danny, all of them. We don't really have anyone who has kind of taken that role of Lance or Greg Hodnett to be that lead PA member. So we're still struggling in that aspect, in my opinion. We have some hella great racers. They're just young, and they've got to kind of navigate their way and find who they are. And there'll be drama along the way, of course, no matter how young or old you are, that happens. But it's been interesting to watch, but it's incredible to see that team owners are rolling in and really, Central PA racing is strong, but I think it's only going to get stronger as these team owners keep popping up here and there and having sponsors come with them.
It's a fascinating point, because you're right. When you look at the Central Pennsylvania landscape probably 10 years ago, of course, Lance was Lance. He continues to be Lance. You had Greg Hodnett, who was the stalwart, if you will, but even before Darren Pittman got the deal with KKR, Darren Pittman. So you had that trio of guys in Pennsylvania, and Fred Raymer was running at the time as well. And you had that trio of 4 or 5 guys that it's interesting. We don't have, with the exception of Lance. That's an interesting take on that, Ash. That's fascinating. I'm going to have to chew on that a little bit. I think you're right, but we don't have a lot of veterans in Central Pennsylvania. It's good we have the youth, though. Thank God we have the youth. Cool stuff.
Well, I thought, what was it, 2-3 years ago, Danny was on that hot streak and won a ton of races. And I was like, all right, here we go. We're getting in this. And then, things changed. And again, the competition has just gotten better. Yeah. Guys are throwing their hat in the mix, and things are just getting stronger, and everybody's elevating each other's level of competition. And then you add technology, and somebody's got this or they've got that. It just, every year we are overstepping our boundaries that we were in the year before.
It is. Fascinating time. All right. One of you, I think, Ashley, you had alluded to it. One of the big issues that sprint car racing is facing is tires. A couple weeks ago, the Texas 305 Sprint Nationals at Devil Bowl were canceled because of a tire shortage. This weekend, Lucas Oil ASCS National Tour was slated to run Jackson Motor Speedway in Byron, Mississippi. Reason for cancellation: there is a risk of flooding, but also tire shortage. I had the chance. I do each week on Wednesday. Scott Traylor does mostly motorsports. Scott from Racing Boys, and I'm a weekly guest on that show. I do it every Wednesday, and actually did it just before we recorded this. And I was delayed coming onto this show because Tommy Hahn called in to talk a little bit about the tire issue. And Tommy is the team owner for Blake Hahn on Lucas Oil ASCS. And he shared, that at Devil's Bowl a couple weeks ago, they had to use some additional tires because of the track rubbering down. I was kind of looking at I-30, and it didn't seem like that they had tire issues there. I don't know what the track surface is. Ashley, you're involved in the parts business, in the supply business. What are you hearing? What are you expecting? We haven't even started the season. Good Lord. We're having tire shortages, and most series haven't even started, and the tracks haven't even dried out. What's your take on what's happening here?
Honestly, it's across the board. It's so different. It just depends on who you talk to, especially in our world. We're struggling to get tires for our customers. And they're like, well, why are you buying so many tires? Well, we have X amount of customers that we have to supply. Like, we have guys racing in Bristol this week. So it's been a struggle. And then, different tracks, different series, and the tire manufacturers are like, oh, well, you can groove and sipe here, but you can only sipe here, or these are, so there's a lot of rules that they're trying to implement. But when we were in Volusia, we talked to the sprint car tire guy from Hoosier. I can't think of his name right at the moment, but he's like, oh, we've got all the tires we need. The guys can come get what they need. And I was like, hold on a second. Then you talk to the sprint car guys, and they're like, well, we can't get tires to match up to what we need stagger-wise or compound-wise or whatever it may be. So it kind of depends on who you talk to and whose story is not matching, but what everyone's, I guess, trouble is at that point. Our biggest thing right now is just, like I said, going into a series, and you have to really know the rules of whether you can groove or sipe, or getting a hold of a certain tire. It's just, I don't know, it's kind of weird. And then you throw in sheet metal, aluminum. What, a year ago was anywhere from $60 to $75 for a sheet, and now it's gone up to 100, 115 depending on who you're buying from. So
Man.
it's crazy, to be completely honest with you.
Really, truly is. And Erin, remember last year, every time we talked to Terry McCarl, when are you going to race again? When I get an engine. I mean,
Yeah.
we're seeing it. We're seeing it, Erin, across the board. It's tires seem to be the ones that right now is getting the attention. Again, I'll echo though, we haven't even started the season in most places, and we're already having this. I don't know, Erin. It's a strange world, a strange time we're living in.
Well, it certainly is. I think we know that over the last few years, no matter what you're talking about,
Right.
It's a strange world. But speaking with Bernie Stubjen last week, he's a Hoosier distributor, and his thoughts were come April 1st, which is this weekend, things could get really interesting. He said he doesn't see the World of Outlaws really stopping because they're the priority. Hoosier will manufacture tires for the top series. He thinks local tracks, local smaller series, we're going to see a major issue. That was his words last week on the podcast with me. And my question was, okay, then what do we do? Is American Racer an option? Is Goodyear an option? And it was really interesting to get his thoughts. He said American Racer is building a ton of tires right now, making tires, but they're getting ready. They ship everything over to New Zealand and Australia as far as sprint car racing. He said, so I don't know if they're going to take away from that, or, he said, I don't see Goodyear stepping back in. But it was really interesting, like, what does happen? Where do we go? I mean, tires are, and then you have some teams who have maybe bought a bunch ahead of time, and then you have, it's going to get messy.
Yeah, I wondered about that. I'm glad you shared with us what Bernie had told you last week on that. Stay tuned. I've had a lot of people reach out, hey, you should talk about tires. Well, Ashley's so right. It depends on who you talk to. I mean, no, we're going to be fine. Oh, it's going to be a disaster. And everywhere in between. And all of these are people that you consider credible. Team owners, tire distributors. I mean, oh boy, here we go. Well, Ashley, the good news is we've cleared March, or just about cleared March here. Now we get into April, and IRA, MOA, King of the West, Power I, Knoxville Raceway, Lernerville, Wayne County, Waynesfield. Now, fortunately, hopefully the weather clears out. It's an exciting month because a lot of sprint car racing coming up.
Yes, it's finally time to get started now.
There we go. All right. Sprint car teams, sprint car series. Ashley has deemed that the season can start now, and it's all about Ashley. So, Erin, the racer.
Tell my husband that, would you?
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Good luck with that, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Erin, the racer, has wanted to watch since January. Erin, the race fan, can't make it past the B mains on a Saturday night on the West Coast. So,
If I was racing, I would.
well, of course you would.
Well,
Absolutely.
me too.
Well, yeah. There we go. Well, that's it. Yes. We just all need. There's the answer. We all just need to go to the racetrack. There's the answer. Yeah.
There it is.
How about that? Fun stuff. Really, truly is. Great stuff. Great hanging out and talking here in the work area, kind of breaking down sprint car racing. We have got a great season ahead of us. I know each of us individually. Of course, Ashley, she once she has that kid, she'll be walking out the door and going sprint car racing to the local tracks up there. Erin, I know you got some races we're getting to later on this year. It looks like we're doing Houston and Knoxville and a few other things. I've got a great schedule coming up. I start in 2 weeks. I get up to Ohio, to Attica and Wayne County, and then I think I've got a USCS weekend that I can get to. I mean, it's that time of year. It's time to go sprint car racing. Really fun stuff. So really neat. Ashley, before we get out of here, we just wish you a great week. If all goes well, you and I will talk on Monday when we record our television program. And I hope that all is going well, and we will do that. But little baby Stremmy may have something to say about that. So we wish you the best as you work through these final stages and the nesting period of this. We wish you the best as you continue during I'm sure what is just a rough time for you, but Erin and I sit back and say, what a beautiful time. We wish you the best with this as you continue on.
Thank you. It's been interesting to say the least. And of course, it's our busy time here in the shop. So that makes it even better.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's been great.
You've got a weird definition of better, my friend, a weird definition of better. Erin, horse show season is kind of settled down now, or where are you at with everything, Erin? Everything good as you look into the month of April here?
Yeah, things are looking well. We had, I think I've expressed on our weekly show that we had a few incidents with Alfie. See, when you have race cars, they can't have ulcers. They can have other things, but they don't have ulcers. So Alfie, Kate's pony, threw her off a few times. So we had to get him feeling better. Now we got to get her anxiety a little bit calmed down. But she's been back riding him. So it's actually been kind of a nice break because horse shows they're intense, and it's kind of like a race weekend. You go and you sit around and wait, and then you wait a little bit more, and then finally she shows for 20 minutes, and then you wait around some more. Ooh. So it's been a nice break, but yeah, she's getting back on him. He's healthy. He went to the shop and got fixed up or got some medicine, whatever you want to call it.
Sounds like a night at the sprint car. Sounds like a night at the sprint car races with 9 support divisions, so.
Well, yes, precisely.
Awesome. Well, good stuff. I'm at a really neat point. Get really busy with MRN. We've got a lot of races, and between that and sprint cars, I talked about Ohio. I'm coming up to Port Royal. We'll be up there for the Weichert Memorial. I've got a Huset's weekend that Erin, you and I are doing. So I'm at that point of the season where it's time to get racing. It's time to get right after it, and it's going to be fun, that's for sure. So always a pleasure hanging out. We'll continue with the trio of individual podcasts, Getting Off Track with Ashley Stremme, as you know, with Erin Evernham, and the Post Office with yours truly, Steve Post. So who knows what we'll have next week. Ashley, you might have a week or two off. You might have a week or two off from, we might allow that. Okay, we might allow that.
You'll be a little busy.
Be a little busy. Yeah, there we go. So we'll continue with our weekly podcast, but we're so glad. Always good to hang out. And we appreciate each and every one of you joining us here on the work area. For Ashley Stremme, Erin Evernham, I'm Steve Post. Thanks for joining us, everyone.